No, I think in some cases it's much better, but in this, I like the Google Docs.
Okay, really, this is the only one that he's worried about.
We need to call people.
I really, okay, so, okay, this is very small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it all.
Did you hear me driving this picture?
Yeah.
No, it didn't. No, not at all. I much more of a cat. I mean, just as far as what it has done. I kept cooking it.
I know, I was wondering about that.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Last night? Yeah. Yeah, was it?
Are we ready?
It's been 2 seconds. You ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, meeting called to order.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing? Lovely.
We're here.
We're here.
I don't know if we're really awake.
Start the meeting in 6, but
I know, I
don't know.
did you hear, I'm like, what, I go next, at least it's jamming.
I guess that you don't sleep.
I don't sleep, so it's fine.
all right. Pursuant to Indiana Code Section 2029-619, school employer is obligated to conduct a public meeting to discuss the tenant's collective bargaining agreement. This meeting must be held at least 72 hours prior to the employer ratifying the agreement. Tentative agreement was reached by negotiators representing Elkhart Community Schools and Elkhart Teachers Association on October 5th, 2022. Tentative agreement was approved by the Elkhart Teachers Association on October the 17th. A copy of the tentative agreement has been posted on the district's website pursuant to Indiana law, and a copy of this tentative agreement is also provided to each board member in the packet for your regular meeting scheduled to take place on October the 25th at 7:00 p.m. The terms of the tentative agreement were also shared with you during the executive session on October the 11th, 2022. We'll be seeking your approval of the tentative agreement during your October 25th meeting. And at this point in time, I'd ask if there are any questions or provisions of the proposed agreement you'd like to discuss today.
Question on, you list the insurance of what
Yes.
but if they don't put in what the employee pays, is there a reason for that?
Well, the reason for that actually is because there's a possibility that we're still waiting to get numbers from our reinsurance that the actual employee amount might go down.
Okay.
I don't know what happens with reinsurance. Is that a fair statement, Scott?
I would say that it will remain fixed. We've already pushed out the information for the employer share, for the employee share. So in the contract is just focused on what the employer is going to pay members that the contract applies to, and so that includes the insurance portion. That's why we're just showing the employer contribution.
Okay.
By plan.
Which is what we've always done, right?
Yeah, I just was curious why it was done that way.
Right.
Because it always has been.
Well,
That is
yeah.
a pretty accurate.
Well, that's not a fair statement though, because like, this period, are you worried that when new employees come, they would wonder how much they're gonna pay in, or how, if they ask you, how do you explain it?
Like on a separate sheet of paper,
Okay.
showing exactly what that looks like as far as the payroll breakdown. The inside of the contract is just showing, how much of a compensation piece the district is paying for as a benefit.
Right.
Okay, so they get to see how much insurance costs.
Yeah,
They
like
understand.
on a one.
Yeah, I don't ever wanna get stuck in a situation that we ever say that's because we've always done it that way, because we need to be better.
So the other point I would make, and I think this is something that we ought to continue to remind
And that was your question.
Yeah.
Was last
That was
time we
your
did a
question.
premium increase, I wanna say it was 2016
a
or
while.
17. I was putting together a chart on that yesterday. So that says a couple of things. One, I think that the board has really made strenuous efforts over the last several years to pay attention to premium share and work to increase premium share on the part of the corporation, so we get closer to where I think we ought to be in terms of premium share. I don't think we're there yet. We'll continue to make strides to get to the point where the district is carrying it, what I would say is its fair share of the insurance premium.
Where are we now with,
We are just shy of 68%. And I can look back to when we were actually at 49% for 1 year.
So when people are constantly saying they go to other districts for their, how is that like?
A lot of that deals with a lot of the history of negotiations where, for lots of different reasons, we might have put more money into base salaries, to the salary schedule, rather than to the employer contribution. I think there was a period of time when we were not as focused as we needed to be on the employer contribution. And when I say we, I would say those of us who sat in the negotiations table on both sides. Now, some of that was due to the fact that we didn't even have the state revenue to support, the revenue coming in to support what we were doing in terms of our operations. But I think we've really tried, both the insurance committee to continue to look at the plan design and those types of things, as well as the board and administration to make sure that we are continually trying to focus on look at that contribution that we make towards health insurance.
How are we, like, I know that they're not comparing apples to apples from one insurance program to another. I'm always curious as to why, if we're, 68% is a very nice number, in my opinion, to pay.
Right.
And so, if that's the case, why is it always this look greener on the other side of the fence kind of thing? What's happening over there that's making them think that's so much better? No.
I think part of it is, I think, a significant number of the districts have a fixed percentage that they pay. For example, 80% is a pretty common percentage, in terms of insurance premium. It'd be nice to get us back to that point in time, but it becomes, again, a balancing act. Because we also have, we've got really three different dynamics going on at the same time. You've got those people who are not on our insurance plan, who would much rather have us make sure that we're putting our greatest effort towards base salary. And then you've got those who are in the insurance plan who recognize the challenges from that particular standpoint. And so we're trying to really satisfy a number of different constituencies.
Yeah, I understand. I was always curious why, as I know they're not comparing.
Right.
So, thank you.
And it's a lot more difficult doing this way. It's a lot easier to go from an 80% contribution rate and down to free up money for base salaries. What Doug's talking about years ago, when we increased the base salaries, we had to give it, and we did through the insurance rate. So it's hard to climb back up because as you do that, the salaries also increase, right? So it's hard to climb back up to 80%. But I do remember we were 49%.
We were 49%.
Yeah.
Was the lowest we got in terms of contribution.
And to get to 68% now is.
But it's also, a trend is that companies can't afford to stay at those high percentage rates. So it's particularly when the companies are coming and giving somebody like us a 54% increase in 1 year.
Right.
So it's like really hard. So I was just curious because I know what's happening.
And as Mr. Scott has reported, we're looking at just under 3% increase, 2.7%, I think is the number we've been looking at.
Yeah.
Several of the teachers in surrounding districts are gonna be seeing insurance costs increase on their end, because it's getting
I would imagine.
their inflation rate for their insurance plans, and some of our neighbors are accelerating, unfortunately, and that's not sustainable for their district.
I figured they could have possibly.
So that insurance imbalance should shift. We're actually doing better as a district than our neighbors. And I think you'll start to hear that messaging change a bit.
Carrie, that's very helpful to know. That's kind of what I was thinking would have to be happening, but I didn't.
Employees in our nearest, as our nearest competitors, so to speak, are seeing an increase
Yeah,
on the employee side.
the narrative doesn't ever get there out in the ether though, which is, I can't wait for it to actually, like, people actually realize it. Anyway.
Well, I'm wondering too, because when I was going through some data that I found on one of my favorite sites, that, our district offers 4 different plans.
Right.
Most districts only offer 2.
Yeah.
So how does that help us, or is that more challenging?
Administratively, it's more challenging.
Yeah.
But
So that's
from a
administrative standpoint, it is more
but from a
challenging.
cost standpoint,
From a cost standpoint for the district, other than the administrative cost, I don't think it's more challenging from that standpoint. What it does is to give the employees more choice.
right?
In terms of, and really what we're talking about is choice in terms of how much do I want to pay in terms of the deductible, how much do I want to pay in terms of co-insurance.
Right.
That's the choice that
Premium,
I'm making,
right.
balanced against what I'm gonna have to deduct in terms of premium.
Right.
Now, the other thing that I think that we have, because we have a 4-tier plan,
Right.
for each one of those independent plans, it also gives employees a little bit more control over, for example, if you're an employee and spouse, obviously we're focusing on those 2 individuals, whereas employees independent, where you're not also insuring the spouse comes into play as well. So I think there's lots of things that we've done in terms of plan design that it does make it more complex, but I think it
It's
helps.
a more benefit for the employee, so that's another positive.
Benefit for the employee, having
right.
the ability to
Have
really
more
kind of
choice.
control their costs.
It allows the younger people who don't think they need insurance.
Right,
to-
no, and
to
that's
buy
why-
a higher deductible and lower premium.
Right, so I'm looking at that too, it's like that's another added benefit in the sense that they do have more options.
Also,
suit their
it gives our lower paid employees the ability to have access to health insurance. And I think the other selling point that we have, and we need to continue to talk about, is our clinic. Because I think that is a huge benefit. I get to the point today where employees talk about, how much they love the clinic, Everside. Gotta get used to the name change, Everside, Dr. Jordan, that really is an attraction for people.
Once they understand and access it, they really, really
Absolutely.
enjoy it. Yep. Huge.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thanks for answering those kind of but I just have to try to balance my brain on some of those things. I appreciate it.
Well, I think one of the other things, and I think what's the best part of the agreement this year is the fact that with what we're doing in terms of the catch-up for employees, we're going to eliminate that. Well, I can go over to insert name of district and get an increase that I couldn't get here in Elkhart. So I think we're really attacking one of the primary reasons why people say they want to go elsewhere. Anything else? All right. Also be around if you have other questions or want to email me over the week. Well, okay, I might not answer over the weekend, but prior to the meeting, I'd be happy to answer other questions. As I'm sure both Kevin would and Steve would and Terry would.
Terry Wood, didn't he retire from the Cubs?
Yeah.
He's a pitcher. Yeah, he's an expert in terms of insurance issues.
Good.
We frequently want to go to Terry Wood on the pitch.
Glad that they did something after retirement.
Anything else? Anything from the public?
Any comments, Terry?